Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to show you how to set up roles and install different services into Server 2008 R2. This works also with Server 2008, and later on I'll end up doing videos for Server 2012. Now, to install your roles and different services, you're going to come down here to this little icon that'll be in the taskbar, and under the tray here you just click on this and it'll be the little server with the toolbox. This is your server manager. Now you can see where it says activate Windows. I don't have this version activated or this install activated because this is for demonstration purposes. After I get done with a few videos, this install will actually be destroyed. So the first thing you want to do is come up here to roles. And I'm also going to show you how to install Hyper-V and then set it up. You'll see 0 out of 17 installed, so click Add Roles. Now you'll have this before you begin. Verify that the administrator account has a strong password. That's a given. Most of the time you don't want to use the actual administrator named admin account. You want to create a different named admin account and disable the standard administrator account. Just kind of hardens the attack surface on the server OS. And then you have the network settings set to a static IP. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Again, this is for demonstration purposes to show you how to install and set up the roles. And then the latest security updates. Again, I'm not going to worry about that. This is demonstration. Okay, so you have Active Directory certificate services. If you're going to run an AD and use certificates, you can select that and it will install it. I'm not going to be using that. Same goes with the Active Directory domain services, Active Directory Federation services, Active Directory lightweight directory services. If you're running standard Active Directory, you're not going to want that one. I mean, some people do run it, but not everybody. Nice thing about the lightweight directory services is, as it states over here, you can have multiple instances of AD LDS on a single server, and each can have its own layout and scheme. Active Directory rights management services, again, those are all if you're going to run this as an Active Directory domain controller. You have the application server if you want to host applications. We're going to go ahead and select that one. Now you can see it's saying that it needs to add required features. That's fine. You just click add features and it'll automatically add them. You have DHCP server. You can actually set up your server to do the DHCP setup. Most of your home routers are capable of doing it. A lot of enterprise routers are capable of doing it, but if you don't want to use an actual router to host DHCP, you can configure the server to do it. I'm not going to set that up on this one. DNS server, that's for domain name system, and that one is a really good one to have, especially if you are running Active Directory and you're going to have a lot of systems on the network, to have your Active Directory set up as the domain name server as well. So that way it can resolve host names to IPs. You have, and the DNS server is one that generally you're pretty good to set up. You do want to make sure that you have a static IP if you're going to run it as a DNS server, but that's pretty well standard if you're running a server at all anyway, to have it configured with a static IP address. I'm not going to set it up as a fax server. File services, that one's to be able to share files and things fairly easy. That one's one you can enable. And then if you want Hyper-V, all you got to do is select the Hyper-V. As you can see, it's saying that the processor on this is not compatible with Hyper-V. All you got to do is select on it. Remote desktop services, you can set it up as a remote desktop host. And then of course you have your Windows deployment services and Windows Update for deployment service. That's for Pixie boots, to where you can boot to an active OS image for like workstations and stuff, especially if you're using thin clients. And then you have the Windows Server Update services. It'll actually download the Windows updates and then it'll act as a update server, so you can put whatever updates you want on your primary server, which will just distribute those updates to all the systems on your internal intranet. And once you get all of them selected that you want installed, click next. And then it'll say introduction to DNS server. Just click next, next. Here you can set up role services. And this is select the role services to install for an application server. So these are all the applications you can set up the role services for. Web server, if you're going to run it as a web server, you really want it segregated from the rest of the network and have it as a standalone. But once you have everything selected you want on there, you can click next, and then it'll take you to the other roles. It'll go through all the different roles and everything, make sure you have everything set up the way you want. Like you have the distributed file system, file server resource manager for the file server, you have the Windows search service, Windows Server 2003 file service indexing, and branch cache. You can leave it as just a standard file server. You might want to go ahead and add like the file resource manager along with the services for a network file system, so you have running as an NFS if you're going to use Linux or Unix systems. And then the Windows search service is really nice, along with indexing if you want it. They're all optional, but they do help out. Once you get all that set up, just click next, your confirmation. Once you do that, you just hit install. It goes through with progress, gives you the results, and then the services are all set up. Pretty simple and basic. Once you actually have your roles and everything installed, you'll be able to go through and look at your different roles, like the application server, Hyper-V, all that good stuff. See, Hyper-V here on mine is giving off a warning, or a caution actually. And once you click on them, it can take a while for it to come up. So you may have to sit and wait for a little bit. And then once you get Hyper-V installed, you can go to the Hyper-V service and bring up Hyper-V Manager. If you've ever used VMware, or if you've ever used VirtualBox, this works a lot in the same way. Your Hyper-V Manager, here's the server. You can come over here and you can create new virtual machines, set up different hard disks for your data stores. And the virtual machines are very, very easy to set up, and I do mean very easy. It's insanely simple, and it's amazing how insanely simple it is. We're going to go ahead and say new virtual machine. Click next. You can specify the virtual machine name. Click next. You assign the amount of RAM to it. Click next. Configure your network connection. It'll set up a virtual network, which will use a virtual switch, and that's how your VM network connections work, is through that virtual switch. If you have a dual port or a quad port network card, you can set that virtual switch to that actual network card, so then the virtual switch is tied into the primary network, which ties your VMs into the entire network system. And then you have the connect virtual hard disk, installation options, summary. I mean, it's super simple. You set up your hard drive, set your installation options for the operating system, and then go through that process. Once you actually get it all set up, you can go to your virtual network manager, and here you actually have the connection that you're using. And with that, allow management operating system to share this network adapter. That allows the virtual machine to talk to the operating system of the host as well. And then you can create new virtual networks. You can set up internal. Internal allows the host server to talk to the VMs only. And then you can also set up private, where only the VMs can talk to each other. This information is out there for absolutely everybody. As always, watch, like, and share. Have yourselves a great day.